Welcome back to this segment of Instructional Design Conversations here at Royal Roads University. This topic is going to be focused in on historical foundations of instructional design. The history of the field of instructional design cannot be viewed separately from the evolution of distance education. The basic idea of distance education is simple enough. Students and teachers are in different places for all or most of the time that they learn and teach. And this is Moore and Kersley's 2005 citation. Of course, distance education first started as paper materials, we know this, delivered by postal mail. And therefore, Rumble suggests that the earliest interpretation of distance education implies the absence of teacher. However, it doesn't mean the total absence of teacher. So when examining the history of instructional design, it's important to recognize that technology advancements, cultural factors, learning theories, and systems theories intertwine to create changes and emergent best practices in the field. And so the question for this segment is, how have you seen the field of instructional design evolving? So I'll get us started on this one. I worked in a K-12 environment in a distance education school, and at the time we delivered paper materials to our students. And instructional design at the time I didn't think had a name. Like, instructional designers didn't really exist at the time. However, when we moved into online, or when we started to transition into online, I found that it was really, really important for me to understand what I was doing, because it was a different kind of delivery model, and I felt like the learning materials that we provided in print didn't necessarily translate very well to the online environment. And so I think what's happened in terms of the evolution, I see the transition from the paper modules to the online environment challenging us in a different way, because there's so many different technology tools that are out there and so many different options. What do you think?
Well, I've certainly seen, in my own experience, a change moving towards higher levels in Bloom's taxonomy when we are designing learning that's going to happen in an online environment, but also in general. Part of that's because I started off teaching in the Armed Forces, and we did have a pretty strong system of instructional design. It was performance-based training developed in the 60s, and but it was, as performance-based, it was, task-oriented, but very rigorous. And when I started thinking about how to support online learning using higher level skills, that process still was a decent model to try and develop and design things. So that's my experience, has been moving from very simple, how do you paddle a canoe, up to how do you analyze this research.
Anyone else?
I remember one of the first times, I didn't think of this until you just posed this question. I encountered when I was in high school in the 60s, my algebra instructor asked for a volunteer to try a new learning technique. And so I went off with a machine while the rest of the class was instructed by the teacher, and I sat with the machine that I kind of could advance slides and answer questions. And I think it was learning how to use a slide rule. You guys don't even know what that is, do you?
No, I don't.
But then he compared. I took the same test that the others took, and I didn't do my usual A, and so he gave me a little instruction off the side. But that was the first time I think I encountered kind of programmed instruction, which would have been done by an instructional designer.
Right. And I suppose when we think of it, teachers really would have assumed much of the role of instructional design if we kind of dissected the design piece, I guess, more closely. Mm-hmm. But I know that there's this argument about how education has sometimes become a production line, a bit of a production line, right? And so the project management components have started to become a part of that. Mm-hmm. And so that requires a different set of skills, right, outside of the development of just the learning materials per se. So, yeah.
When you raise the thing about how technology changing, geez, how do we stay on top of all the technologies that are available to use in our design?
Well, thank you so much for sharing. We're going to wrap up this segment, and thank you for watching, and join us in the next segment of ID Conversations.